Welcome to Business Success in the Virtual World podcast, a resource of information for businesses to understand and embrace the innovative power of XR, VR, and AR. Each episode, we attempt to summarize what's new in this growing industry and highlight actual case studies of how these technologies are advancing success in business and enterprise. I'm Tim Beharon, Chairman of Creative Strategies, and each episode I'm joined by Barton Goldenberg, President of ISM Inc. Together, we help our listeners navigate the ever-growing mountain of information and technologies impacting virtual worlds, the metaverse, augmented reality, spatial computing, etc. In addition to all the information presented in each episode, additional information can be found on our resource website, in which you'll discover news, products, and most significantly, over 175 actual case studies of businesses utilizing these inventive technologies. That website is found at www.ismguide.com. The XR Metaverse resource link is on that site. There you'll discover field service examples, training, customer service, manufacturing, and much, much more. It's a fast-growing and complex area destined to impact your business. Let us help you figure out the best strategies. Now, on to the next episode. This week's example of companies or industries using VR, XR, AR technology in what they're doing today is coming from the auto industry. Barton has done quite a bit of research, and we actually have some case studies on our website, the Metaverse Resource Center site, that you could refer to after this. But Barton, what did you look into when you started studying about how the auto industry is integrating AR and VR today? Because they've been doing it for quite a while, right?
Well, in fact, Tim, they've been doing it for pretty darn close to 10 years. So today what I'd like to do is talk about not just the automotive industry, but I really want to talk about BMW's impressive use of virtual reality and augmented reality, which more and more the industry is calling XR or extended reality. But before I share that BMW story, I do want to give a high-level overview of how the majority of more than 60 automotive brands around the world are currently putting immersive XR technology to use. And I'll give you 4 or 5 different areas and a couple of examples. So in the marketing area, several automotive manufacturers, including Acura, have launched VR showrooms. So Acura did that in Dreamland in 2021, where online visitors can check out detailed representations of the latest and most luxurious cars, interior and exterior. They can walk around the vehicle, they can examine it from every angle, they can open the doors and sit in the seats, they can even start the engines and interact with features like the in-car entertainment system. Automotive manufacturers are also encouraging customers to leverage AR technology to view the car parked in their own driveway. So they'll overlay the car in the driveway, or to help customers try on and purchase aftermarket accessories like wheel rims or roof racks or tow bars, tow packages, and without any pressure from a pushy car salesman. There's even one automotive manufacturer that's specialized in applying AR to what is called aftermarket products. Automotive manufacturer offering customers VR test rides from anywhere by simply plugging into an AR headset to their PC, accessing a YouTube video, and going for that test drive. And just as another example, in 2021, Porsche went so far as to launch their Porsche Vision Gran Turismo, which is a concept car solely for the virtual world. So there's just a couple of examples of marketing. On the sales side, Fiat from Italy has reinvented the customer buying journey by creating an alternate car shopping experience in the metaverse. The company is a Fiat Metaverse store, made its North American premiere at the Consumer Electronics Show that Tim and I participated in January 2023 in Las Vegas. And Fiat is already employing the technology in Europe, which it launched in Italy just before the beginning of the year in December of 2022. Now, the Fiat Metaverse Store allows customers to research, to configure, even now to purchase the Fiat 500 La Prima de Bocelli, which is a special version of the Fiat 500. And Fiat also sees the Metaverse Store as a key pillar to launch the new Fiat 500e, which is the all-electric car in North America next year in 2024. That's on the sales side. Now, a big focus on the automotive industry is on the customer experience side. So let me give you a couple of examples there. To enhance the customer experience, what the automotive manufacturers are doing, and this includes Audi, who's doing a very impressive job, are allowing customers to turn their windscreens into an AR-enabled screen. So virtual information then gets beamed directly to the driver. That would include like car performance or the speed of travel, any of the lane assist features, navigation equipment, indicators showing distances between cars, in front of you, behind you, thereby eliminating the need for the driver to take their eyes off the road to check any of the instrumentation. And these features also incorporate eye tracking, so to the position and the size of the projected information on the screen can be moved so that it's optimally positioned considering a driver's size and their head movement. It's kind of cool. Many automotive manufacturers are also offering, as I alluded to, after-sales support using AR, giving hints and advice on cell phone screens to help customers troubleshoot technical problems and connect them to experts through what's called remote assist if that's needed. So lots of things to enhance and facilitate the customer experience. No surprise that the automotive industry will be using XR technologies heavily on the engineering side. In 1919, Nissan adopted the haptX virtual gloves to bring touch and input into the vehicle design process.
Barton, I think you mean 2019.
2019. Did I say 1919?
Yeah.
2019.
They would be really far ahead of themselves.
Designers then, what they do is they have these haptic gloves on and they can interact with 3D models using haptic feedback, further reducing the need for physical prototypes. Very interesting. Over the past few years, several companies, including Mercedes-Benz, have partnered with NVIDIA's Omniverse platform. And you may relate, many of you, to NVIDIA in the gaming industry, Pokemon Go, but they're really leaders in some of the engineering and the AR and VR overlays. So what the NVIDIA Omniverse platform is a VR-enabled digital twin collaborative environment for 3D design. And what it does, it speeds up a car's time to market while decreasing development costs by up to 30%. And lastly, on the engineering side, I took another example of these employing AR technology to help engineers and designers visualize how components will actually fit together during the manufacturing process, and to allow more experienced engineers and designers to provide remote assistance to new engineers and training within the engineering environment. So the whole XR suite of technologies has pervaded engineering within the car industry. Again, no surprise that it would also be very active in employee training, not just employee, but also dealership training. So one other area of growing importance is employee training. It ranges from training mechanics, and Mercedes has trained, I think it's 1,500 mechanics using AR technology and also some VR, as well as training dealership personnel. For example, Ford currently has a program where they have 150 technicians using augmented reality headsets. They receive about 5,000 weekly virtual inquiries from technicians at dealerships across the country, and they're currently resolving about 95% of these virtually. The remaining 5%, they'll visit the dealership. Mercedes-Benz built this global training platform to provide dozens of virtual VR courses that provide hands-on training for troubleshooting technical issues, helping to resolve customer service inquiries, onboarding new staff, enabling supervision on-the-job training, and reducing cost and wastage associating with training in a classroom on a real-time world. So that's the employee training side. So I've given you a couple of examples of marketing and sales, customer experience, engineering, and employee training. But now let's turn to what I think is a really great example, and that's the BMW story. And as Tim alluded to, it's been almost 10 years since the automotive industry has started using XR technologies. Really, in those days, it was VR, then AR, then XR, and we'll see lots of new ones as well. But BMW, it started as a company now in 1916 with the founders of the aircraft producer Bayerische Flugzeugwerke. Now, one of the most incredible facts about BMW, and I'm not sure how many know this, is that it only got into producing automobiles after the Treaty of Versailles was signed following the First World War. And as a stipulation of the treaty, German companies were no longer allowed to produce warplanes and warplane engines. And so what that did is it forced this company to adopt and expand into the automotive industry, and in 1922 to change its name to Bayerische Motorwerken, or BMW for short. Now today the BMW group consists of 3 brands, including BMW, which many of you know well. That's both the automotive side as well as the motorcycle side. But they also own Mini, the brand Mini, which has its own cult following, and the luxurious and wonderful Rolls-Royce brand. In 2022, BMW sold 2.4 million units globally, including about 10% of that are 215,000 fully electric vehicles, while maintaining the #1 position in global premier car market segment. BMW is truly a global company. I did a little bit of homework, and I was a little bit surprised. China accounts for 1/3 of their total units sold globally. The US 15% of their total sales globally. Germany 10%, UK 6%, South Korea 4%, France 3%, and Italy 3%. So BMW was a real early user of AR, VR technologies. It goes back to 2014 when BMW tested original Google Glass technology for quality control of a pre-series vehicle in one of the US plants. And ever since 2014, that initial experiment, this luxury automaker has been embracing AR and VR in product development, in production, in training, in marketing, and much more. So let me give you a couple of examples. BMW uses virtual reality for workstation planning. Again, standard stuff. They use AR to provide training for engine assembly and other processes, to inspect parts, and even to assist drivers in their driving. They created a special AR app to place and customize a virtual BMW i4, that's their electric car, or an iX into a customer's driveway. Again, today's technology. They put VR headsets on customers, allowing them to test drive the physical BMW M2 through a futuristic visual city. BMW has created a mixed reality virtual platform to develop real-time immersive driving experiences that merge the real with the virtual worlds. Now, recently this year, they've collaborated with Meta, so Zuckerberg's Meta, to jointly explore how augmented and virtual reality technology can work inside a fast-moving vehicle, which creates a lot of challenges because of the speed. And this year, they've also announced that they're building the world's first virtual factory, again using NVIDIA's Omniverse platform. And as I alluded to, this is a platform that is allowing BMW to build a perfect digital twin of their future 400-hectare plant in Debrecen, Hungary, which reportedly will produce around 150,000 vehicles every year once it opens up in 2025. So it's quite an interesting, use of technology. Now, what I want to focus on mostly, though, during this BMW piece is their latest concept car called the iVision D, D-E-E, which debuted at the 2023 Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas to rare review. Now, I might just add, if you've heard me mention, Fiat opened up their Metaverse store for sales at CES, and BMW launched its iVision D at CES. And I just want you to reflect for a minute. CES is the world's largest and most impressive show for electronic breakthroughs. And here you have an entire section, not only on the metaverse, that's new for 2023, but a car industry. It's almost like a Detroit car show. And what you see then is the integration of cars and the metaverse and electronics. It's really fascinating. So I spent quite a bit of time at the BMW CES booth back in January, and quite frankly, I was blown away. So the iVision D car was inspired wholly by metaverse and the metaverse technologies. DEE, as I alluded to, stands for Digital Emotional Experience. And it features a voice interface and digital windscreen displays, a mixed reality slider in place of the traditional car instrument display, multiple senses to select a variety of features ranging from analog communication, augmented reality projection, and even an entry into the virtual world. Externally, and this is very cool, D contains what they call physigital elements, which is a fusion of digital and physical. So in combination with natural language, the car technology allows it to talk both to humans and to express with facial expressions through its front headlights and grills. So it can smile at you when it's happy and frown at you when it's not so happy. The full exterior surface of the car is made up of what they call e-ink segments, which can be displayed with up to 32 colors. What that does, it enables the side windows of the car to project avatar versions of the driver, extending the interior virtual world to the car's external facade. And if you haven't, seen it, I'm going to strongly recommend you take a peek at it. I think the BMW story will only get better as BMW improves, hopefully approves production of the iVision D car, and then new devices, including the incredible Apple Vision Pro, gets built into or utilized by BMW personnel and actually integrated into future BMW models. In summary, Tim, I'd like to suggest, as you alluded to at the beginning, is automotive companies have been at the forefront of adopting XR technology, and I mean AR and VR, as well as the kind of metaverse for more than a decade. And as an industry, I think the automotive is a perfect example of how XR and the metaverse can and will transform additional industries, which is why Tim and I are so committed to educating executives on this particular opportunity, helping companies create their XR and metaverse strategy, and then implementing pilots based in these technologies to show the art of the possible. For those that are interested, thank you for contacting us if you'd like to continue the dialogue. Back to you, Tim.
Barton, as you shared this overview of the auto industry and then more specifically BMW, it is fascinating that, number one, they have been progressive thinkers around the concept well before the rest of the world heard the metaverse speech from Zuckerberg or anybody else. I was familiar with it, with the industry doing this, because a couple of the car dealers came to me early on some of the things they were thinking about doing, both with the panels in front, because they were going to put new glass in that potentially could do, as you suggested, where the VR experience is in the windshield, right? That was being talked about 8 years ago. And as futuristic as that is, it's those type of things that companies need to kind of, even now, begin brainstorming and think about building blocks and foundational technologies around what they're doing. I think that when you look at the overall enterprise world itself, they are, of course, right now focusing on AI, but there's no question that once Apple got in, the interest level went up. I mean, there's been over 50 million views of the Apple keynote, specifically looking at the Vision Pro. And the interest around the world in that is significant. And yes, there's a lot of questions because of price and functionality, etc. But I was actually talking with a major executive of a big Korean company yesterday, and his projection was, we may not see true consumer metaverse before 2030. And I stopped him and I said, yeah, well, you may be right, but I'm going to tell you, I have an opposite position. I really believe that this is going to accelerate, especially starting in 2025. But more importantly, what we're seeing, I think now, is the enterprises around the world are saying, this is interesting. This is not smoke and mirrors anymore. This is a real opportunity. And of course, Apple gives more credibility to it even than Zuckerberg did and Metaverse. And I agree with you that I think companies right now need to take a very strong position, at least in the understanding of what's going on. And Barton and I are offering to do briefings for major enterprises on this particular issue, both from a perspective where I've seen it, I've worn it, I understand it, and I also understand how Apple will make this actually a fairly big success in my mind. But the fact that Apple actually, well, they have not stated this publicly, they're actually seeing immense interest from enterprises now. They're reaching out, they want to know more about it, etc.
I'd like to make a couple comments, Tim. I just want to pick up on a couple of things you said. So you suggested the automotive industry is progressive thinkers. And I actually completely agree with you. And what they've done is they have not only created, but leveraged what are today's fairly well-known use cases in the application of either VR and or AR or some of the emerging technologies. So, remote assist comes out of the car industry. The use of the platforms of the 3D design comes out of the car industry. Some of the marketing and sales in the metaverse is from the car industry. But I would like to challenge us this way. Why do they have to be progressive thinkers? And the answer is, for me, very straightforward. Gen Z and Gen Alpha. And I believe they're driving the future. And what I mean by that, I'll just tell you a personal story. So I've got a little motorboat out on Kent Island in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay that I like to go fishing with. And I've got a Volvo station wagon, and it was getting old, and I was towing the boat, and I decided to buy a new one. And I ended up buying a 2015 version. It's a lovely car. And my son said, Dad, he's 25. How could you possibly buy a car that old with the technology that's in that car? I said, look, it tows the boat fine, and I can do all the things I needed to do. And he said, Dad, you got to get hip, because that's not where the world is at. And that's what's driving it. So he ends up buying a 2023 Volvo XC40. And I got to tell you, it's like getting inside a spaceship. But he's expecting all of this. And he's just Gen Z. Gen Alpha's coming up the rear from 2012, and onward. And they expect it. So I think that, yes, they're progressive, but they're being driven by their customers. One other point you mentioned, the concept of foundational technologies. I think that the executives today are seeing, and in our Metaverse Resource Center, there's more than 180 actual use cases. The automobile industry is one. BMW is one of those cases. Mercedes-Benz is another one of those cases. But these are companies that are doing it today. And I think very often, I think about Blockbuster and what happened to them. They were a $5 billion company. They took their eye off the ball when the world was going digital. Netflix jumps into the arena. It took them less than 5 years to literally bankrupt Blockbusters and become the digital streaming company of the future. And Blockbuster looked back and said, oh my God, what just happened? And it's not just, that's not a one-off. Think about, what Apple replaced all of the phones and technologies before they came out with their iPhone. Think about Xerox and how they missed, the digital camera evolution and so forth. So companies today need to leverage that foundational technology that exists today to create that strategy, not tomorrow, but today, because as executives are thinking about what is this thing really all about for VR and XR, their competitors are actively and aggressively paving the future of the industry.
Yeah, and I know a lot of companies are in the early stages of thinking, but I do believe that not only from what we're seeing in the auto industry, but I'm seeing this in medical, and I'm starting to see it in traditional areas, sales, CRM, customer service, that they're now taking a position that says, this is something we need to take a hard look at. And while taking a hard look at it is I think, a significant good first step, I think that you really need to dig into how it will change and enhance what we already are doing, right? And I think that's really kind of the futuristic position that they need to start thinking about. Well, Barton, thank you for that particular example, because it really highlights one of the key things that we try to bring to you in our podcast is the fact that VR and XR technology is being used today. They're not waiting for the future. They're taking what they have and what they can. And then Apple just basically gave them a whole new platform to deal with. I think our next podcast, we will actually dig into the Apple Vision Pro and its particular impact on the success of VR and XR in enterprise, but more specifically, what I'm hearing from enterprises who are just starting to think about the Vision Pro. And by that time, I'll have talked to maybe 4 or 5 companies who are already saying, all right, it's time to jump in, not tiptoeing in, but they really are going to make some very big investments in this in the next couple of, especially in the next couple of months.
I, for one, can't wait until the next podcast to hear what you have to tell us, Tim.
Okay, thank you very much, Barton.
Okay, bye now.
For more information on this and other case studies, please check out the website www.ismguide.com and click the link for XR Metaverse Resource Center. We look forward to you joining us next time on another episode of Business Success in a Virtual World.